If you're dealing with any chronic aches or pain or any sort of disease or health issues and are curious about how you can empower yourself to heal naturally along with whatever protocol you're choosing, I have a miraculous story for you. Hey, I'm Michelle, and I'm going to share with you today how I healed endometrial polyps naturally. So the story goes way back to high school, in fact, and that's when I first started getting incredibly difficult and painful periods. They were so bad that I would get sent home from school on the first day, just curled up in massive pain. So we went to the doctor, and instead of the doctor investigating any further to figure out what was causing this pain, the doctor simply handed me some birth control and said, "Here, take it, it will help you feel better." So not knowing any better, that's what I did. I took the birth control and I took it for 2 decades. And yes, it did help. It helped mask the symptoms of what I was dealing with inside my body. So for 2 decades, I felt relatively okay. And fast forward to 2012, when my mom got cancer for the 9th time. She had breast cancer that eventually metastasized into her bones, and she was given 6 months left to live at that time. So that cancer that had first started for her was first onset after she had started taking synthetic hormones many years prior. And I thought to myself, birth control, synthetic hormones, maybe I shouldn't be on them. So I decided to get off of them, and my body started to wreak havoc again, and I was just desperately trying to figure out what to do. And I couldn't find a doctor at the time that would really listen to me and help work with me on a natural protocol for healing. Eventually, fast forward to 2015, I found a doctor and she discovered that I had endometrial polyps this whole time. It's an overgrowth of the uterine lining. It causes tremendous pain, like I was dealing with, and most women have them surgically removed. So for me, surgery is always a last resort. I believe it's absolutely necessary in many cases. However, if I can heal it naturally beforehand, I'm going to do everything I can to do just that. So I spoke with my doctor about this, and we decided to create a natural protocol. She put me on a plant-based progesterone because I was low on my progesterone levels, and also recommended that I go to weekly acupuncture with a woman who specialized in these types of issues. So I did the weekly acupuncture, went on the plant-based progesterone, and I also became my own client. So as a yoga therapist, I help people with healing, injuries, illness, and even if it's just getting greater flexibility, but really working mind, body, and spirit. So I created a yoga program for myself to start to focus on healing this area of my body. So I regularly practice that yoga protocol. And I also decided to dig a little bit deeper because I always believe there is a mind, body, spirit component in everything. So, and one thing I always share with people is the body is always communicating with us. So when we're having these chronic aches and pains, what's the lesson in that? What is really going on in there? So instead of just going to a doctor and popping a pill, why don't we investigate a little bit deeper and understand what is there for us to learn here? So with endometrial polyps, that has to do with second chakra energy. Second chakra has to do with our creativity, our sexuality, and our relationships. Goodness, I dove into some deep transformational work at that time, and I started really seeing patterns that were surfacing in my relationships that I wasn't aware of for years prior. So I started to do some deep inner healing on that. And when I started this protocol initially, my doctor told me, give it about 3 months before you get back to normal. And me being the stubborn person that I am, I was like, give me 1 month. Give me 1 month. We're gonna do this. So 1 month goes by. I'm doing this whole protocol with the progesterone, the acupuncture, the yoga therapy, and the inner spiritual healing. And 1 month goes by and I get my first period and it wakes me up in the middle of the night, tremendous pain. And I'm tossing and turning for hours. I could not go to sleep. At the time, I didn't even want to take an ibuprofen or anything because that stuff never even really helped my cramps. So I just lay there, and then it just dawned on me. My body's been trying to communicate to me for decades, and all I did was cover it up, mask it up with the birth control, and ignore the signals it was trying to give me. So I thought, wow, my body's been trying to communicate with me so long. Why don't I try to communicate back? And this was almost instinctive. I don't know where this came from, but it was suddenly like I laid my hands on where I felt the pain, right around my ovaries, and I just started speaking to it. And I said, hello, polyps. I acknowledge your presence. Thank you for the message that you've brought me. I now know what I need to work on. I no longer need you in my body. In the name of Christ, I command you out. In that moment, I physically felt the pain underneath my palms shoot into my hips. It was, my hairs were standing on end and I was feeling something happening. And I just instinctively followed the pain and I moved my hands to my hip flexors where the pain had moved. And I repeated it again. Hello, polyps. I acknowledge your presence. Thank you for the message you brought me. I no longer need you in my body. In the name of Christ, I command you out. I physically felt the pain shoot from my hip flexors into my thighs. The pain was moving on my command. And I was just so in awe and so taken over by this that I continued it until I felt my pain shoot out of my heels that night. I rolled over, fell into a deep sleep. I woke up the next morning, no pain. The following month, got my period, no pain. Next month, period, no pain. I went back to the doctor 3 months later, got an ultrasound, and she looks at it and she says, you know your polyps are gone. And I was like, I know. I could feel it. And so one thing that I want to preface also is that there's a couple things actually that I want to share about this. Is first, I'm sharing this with you because I want you to realize the incredible ability and power that you have within yourself to heal. It is important, find a good medical doctor, get a medical diagnosis, figure out what's going on, but don't be sucked into that diagnosis. Mindset is a big thing, okay? We don't want to get stuck in this downward trap of like, oh my God, I got diagnosed with this and I'm dealing with that. There is a place for grief for that and for, processing that, but don't get stuck in that space. The more positive we can be, the more positive thinking in terms of seeing and believing in that healing for ourselves, the more likely we are to be healed. That's a huge player. Whatever protocol you choose to take, whether it's medical or holistic or a combination of both like I chose. So another thing that I want to share is that for me, I believe in Christ, and for me, that power worked for me. So you don't need to believe in Christ for this to work. Whatever you believe in, take that as your source of power and your source of strength. And the next time that you are dealing with any sort of ache or pain or something that's been coming up for you over and over, take a moment, lay your hands on your body, breathe in and breathe out. Slow your breath and slow your mind and ask your body, what is it here to teach me? What do I have to learn from this? So it's so easy when we get into these, especially when we're feeling physical pain, it is, oh my goodness, I know it can be really difficult to stay positive and, believe in our healing, but do everything, be stubborn about it and believe in the power of your healing. So whatever you choose to do, get the medical protocol, but also be curious, investigate, research, ask questions about what you've been diagnosed with. Ask questions, figure out what is the lesson, the spiritual life lesson behind what you're dealing with. Because really, it's just our body's way to communicate with us. Our body is not trying to be an enemy of us. Our body is our friend, but we got to make it our friend. So that's what I did in that moment when finally I realized, after 20 years, I've been dealing with this pain that I've just masked up. And then all of a sudden it was like, hey, let me become friends with my body. Let me see if I can talk with my body and talk with that pain. And guys, this stuff is freaking miraculous. So I would love to hear from you. Do you have any of your own stories where you have healed something, whether naturally, medically, holistically, whatever you have used to heal? I would love to hear from you in the comments below. And by you sharing your story also, it helps the community here too, to see what is possible for them, because healing is possible. So let me know if you like this video. You can give it a thumbs up, and I look forward to sharing more with you in the next one.